was something about his voice, not just the sound, but the feeling, as if every note carried a hidden pain, a secret he was never allowed to say aloud, something raw, vulnerable, almost too real for pop music. But what was it? What was Robin Gibb hiding behind that trembling tenor? Why did his voice sound like it was always on the verge of breaking, not from weakness, but from memory? The answer is not simple. It's tragic, it's beautiful, and it's something you'll never forget once you know the truth. So stay with us through this entire video, because by the end, you'll understand why Robin Gibb wasn't just the soul of the Bee Gees. He was the one they couldn't survive without. In the winter chill of December 22nd, 1949, on the small Isle of Man, two brothers were born just 35 minutes apart. The first, Robin Hugh Gibb, would grow up to become one of the most emotionally resonant voices in the history of music. The second, Maurice, would become his mirror, his anchor, and eventually, his most devastating loss. In the Gibb household, music wasn't entertainment, it was oxygen. While most kids played with toys, the Gibb brothers played with harmonies. Their parents, Hugh and Barbara, weren't rich, but they gave their children something far more valuable: freedom to create. And in that modest home, magic began to take root. Robin's voice stood out from the start. Delicate, yes, but with an aching maturity no child should have. It was as if he was born with an old soul, channeling emotions even he didn't yet understand. Have you ever heard a voice that felt like it knew your pain? For many fans, that was Robin Gibb. In 1958, the Gibb family moved to Manchester, but they wouldn't stay long. Their next leap? All the way to Australia, a decision that would change everything. In Brisbane, the Gibb brothers, now calling themselves the Bee Gees, started performing at clubs, talent shows, and even between races at a speedway. Robin was just 12 years old, but his voice, already filled with that iconic tremble. They caught the attention of two men, radio DJ Bill Gates and race announcer Bill Good, who saw something special. From those dusty racetracks, the Bee Gees began their slow but steady rise. Imagine, if those two men hadn't been there that night, would the world have ever heard Robin's voice? His first major lead vocal came on a song that would become his personal signature, "I Started a Joke." A melody that felt like a confession, sung through tears. By 1966, the Bee Gees left Australia behind. They returned to the UK, hungry and hopeful, and it worked. Robert Stigwood signed them after hearing just one demo tape. Hits like New York Mining Disaster 1941, Massachusetts, and I've Got to Get a Message to You followed. Robin's haunting voice led many of those tracks, but with fame came friction. In 1969, Robin left the group. Why? Creative clashes, personal tensions, a burning need to be heard on his own terms. He released Saved by the Bell, a solo hit that climbed the charts. His album, Robin's Reign, proved he wasn't just a voice, he was a visionary, but was going solo a victory or a cry for help. Eventually, he returned to his brothers, because the Bee Gees weren't just a band, they were his blood. By 1975, the Bee Gees were reinventing themselves again, this time with a thumping bass line and shimmering falsetto. Jive Talkin' launched their new sound. But it was Saturday Night Fever that turned them into gods. The soundtrack sold over 40 million copies. They weren't riding the disco wave, they were making it. Robin's voice added soul to hits like How Deep Is Your Love and More Than a Woman. They became the only group to write, produce, and perform 6 consecutive #1 hits, 1 singles. But behind the sequins and strobe lights, Robin was struggling. The pressure, the exhaustion, the fame. He was the emotional compass of the band, but who was guiding him? Only Maurice truly understood. The twins had a bond few could comprehend, telepathic, unshakable, and tragically rare. Robin married Molly Hullis in 1968. They had 2 children, but the pressures of fame kept them apart until the marriage dissolved in 1980. Behind the music, Robin wrestled with personal demons, insomnia, fluctuating weight, and a relentless perfectionism that often spiraled into obsession. He also battled amphetamine addiction in the late 60s, just as Maurice would later struggle with alcohol. But the darkest moments often brought the brothers closest. They saved each other in ways no one else could. Robin remarried in 1985. His second wife, Dwina Murphy, was a stabilizing force, an artist, a historian, a partner who understood his depth. Still, as disco faded and the world turned on their once celebrated sound, Robin dove back into solo work. Boys do fall in love, reminded the world he could still write a hook, but nothing could prepare him for what came next. The 1990s brought something rare: respect. The Bee Gees were no longer dismissed as disco relics. In 1997, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Robin embraced the moment and the rebirth of their legacy. He began advocating for environmental causes, serving as president of the International Federation of Festival Organizations. In 2002, he and his brothers were awarded CBEs for both music and humanitarian work. Robin also tapped into classical music, collaborating with his son, Robin John, on the Titanic Requiem. He pushed boundaries, even late in life, and through it all, he never stopped working, never stopped creating, never stopped feeling. His Oxfordshire home became his studio, his sanctuary, but his greatest test still lay ahead. In 2003, tragedy struck. Maurice died suddenly due to complications from a twisted intestine, the same condition Robin would face years later. The loss devastated him. Robin said, "The Bee Gees to us was the 3 brothers. Without Mo, it can't be the Bee Gees anymore." But he still had music. In 2006, he released My Favorite Christmas Carols. He continued composing, performing, collaborating. In 2010, Robin underwent emergency surgery. A year later, he was diagnosed with liver and colon cancer. And yet, he never stopped. He made public appearances when he could. He stayed active in the studio, and he spent his final days surrounded by family, music, and memories. Robin Gibb passed away on May 20th, 2012, but his voice? It never left us. Over 200 million records sold, 8 Grammy Awards, covered by more than 2,000 artists. But those are just numbers. Robin Gibb left behind a sound, a feeling that can't be measured. His vibrato became a signature, his lyrics a mirror, his soul forever etched into pop history. He showed us that music doesn't just entertain, it heals, it remembers, it reveals. So the next time you hear a Bee Gees song, listen closely. That tremble in the harmony? That's Robin, still speaking, still singing, still surviving. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share this with someone who remembers the power of Robin Gibb's voice. And tell us in the comments, which Bee Gees era meant the most to you?